on perimeter and area, okay? So these shapes are what we should know. We should understand what a rectangle is. We should know what that looks like. We should know what a parallelogram looks like. If you forgot, there it is. That's parallelogram, okay? You should know what a triangle looks like. You should know what a trapezoid looks like, okay? All of them are pretty basic shapes. I hope we recognize those. Okay, we're going to start by talking about perimeter. Do we know what perimeter is? Like the definition of perimeter, what is that? Mason?
I don't know the definition, but it's like what's around the or on the edge.
Okay, the edge, right? If I asked you to walk around the perimeter of this room, you would walk around the outside of the room, right? Not in the middle. The perimeter is not part of the middle. So perimeter is the distance around an object. Okay, the distance around an object. So we're going around the outside, okay? To find perimeter, what do? Go ahead, Sydney. Okay, and now that's going to depend on the object, right? So every object might have different number of sides, different numbers that go with it. So to find it, you really just add all the sides together. Okay, so we're just adding. Okay, so depending on the shape, it has different amount of sides. Sometimes shapes give us numbers that we don't necessarily need. Okay, so we have some information we might not use. So if we look at the second slide, we have this, what shape is this?
Rectangle.
A rectangle. Okay, so I want to find the perimeter of that rectangle. Now on your homework, you're going to have to show your work too. Okay, so I know you can do the whole eye roll and throw your head back and whine and get it out of your system, right? So by showing your work, you guys, I'm not expecting a lot. I'm just asking you to write down what you would type in your calculator. Okay? So if I want to find the perimeter of this rectangle, what am I going to do? Brecken.
14 plus 14 plus 5.
And then you just type that in your calculator and get your answer. Okay? 14 plus 5 plus 5 is 28 plus 10, 38. And we should label our answer 38 what? Centimeters. Okay. What shape is this one? Parallelogram. Okay. Now, sometimes on a parallelogram, these two sides will be labeled, but sometimes they'll also give you this, and they might tell you that this is 15 feet. If I want, and this really just represents the height of the parallelogram. If I want to find the perimeter, do I need the height?
No.
No. So then really that is useless information. We don't need that, okay? So I want to find the perimeter. What am I going to do? Sydney. So 16 plus 16 is 32, 20 plus 20 is 40, so that's 72 feet. Okay? I want to find the perimeter of that triangle. You add, what am I adding this time? Thor.
3x plus 5x plus 4x.
Yeah. 3x plus 5x plus 4x. We don't know what x is, but what does that give me?
There's no x's on that.
Oh, your paper doesn't have an x, sorry. Okay, pretend there was x's there. Doesn't matter. That would be 9, 10, 11, 12 x centimeters. Okay, I must have taken them off of there, but if there's an x there, it's okay. It just means there's a variable. We don't know what x is. That could change. If it's not there, we just add like normal. Okay, and letter D, what shape is that? That is a trapezoid. Trapezoids have one set of parallel sides. The other sides are not. we're missing a measurement. What's the missing measurement? Hold on. Yeah. These two sides here are identical, so this would be 3.5, so we add them all together. 6 plus 3.5 plus 1 plus 3.5. So that's 7 plus 7, 14 yards. Okay, perimeter should be really easy, right? I'm not trying to trick you with perimeter, we're just adding. However, sometimes, like on those parallelograms or rectangles when only 2 of the sides are there, people just add 2 of the sides and forget about the other 2. You gotta go all the way around. Okay? Questions on that? All right. Then, area. What does area mean?
The space inside the object?
Yeah. Okay. Area is the space inside of the object. So it's covering the object. Okay. So area is actually the number of squares it takes to cover an object. Okay, get that written down. We'll go to lunch and we'll finish after lunch. Let's finish this up. Before lunch, we talked about the fact that area means to cover the object, how many squares it takes. So when we talk about area, the label is always square centimeters, okay? Or square yards. Do you guys understand what a square yard or a square foot looks like?
It's a foot by
Okay,
foot.
so a square foot is literally a square that's 1 foot by 1 foot. So imagine this filled in. So when we talk about square feet, it's really, I want to buy carpeting. I'm going to get new carpeting for my classroom. How many square feet would it take to cover the floor?
At least 20.
More than that.
Probably
Way more than 20 of these squares. Okay. Now, square yards, how many square feet are in a square yard?
3.
No.
9.
9, right? Because it would take 3 squares to go up, 3 squares to the side, but then you got to fill it all in. 3 by 3 is 9 square feet. Okay? So when we talk area and we label, our label is always going to be units squared, whatever that is. If it's centimeters squared, inches squared, feet squared, yards squared, miles squared, okay? This squared does not mean to square the number. That's just because it's a square as the unit, okay? So, the first one, rectangles and parallelograms. The area of a rectangle or parallelogram is the base times height. Okay, the quick, easy way to do it, the formula is right here. This is for a rectangle or parallelogram. Okay, so if we have a rectangle that's 5 by 3, we're just doing 5 times 3 is 15 units squared. Parallelogram, 5 by 3, 15 units squared, okay? Now, you have to be careful. If we have a parallelogram and we only have this label and let's say this is 2, can I find the area? Based on what I have here, can I find the area of that parallelogram? No, I don't have the base and the height. I have the base and a side, okay, but I don't know the height. The height is the distance between the top and the bottom, and it has to be vertical. It has to make a right angle with the base, okay? So, we talked about rectangles and parallelograms, triangles. Okay, the area of a triangle is half the base times the height. I like this better. The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Okay, the reason it's base times height divided by 2 is, think about that. If we have a sheet of paper that's a rectangle, if I folded it to make a triangle, hang on. I can't do it without setting it on the table. Okay, it's gonna be close enough, but this is a triangle, right? How many of those triangles does it take to make a rectangle? 2 of them. So to find the area of a triangle, we're gonna find the area of the rectangle and cut it in half. Okay, just take half of it. I can take any triangle and double it and I'd make a parallelogram or a rectangle. If I drew on here, like this, I have 2 triangles, it makes a parallelogram. Half of it is the triangle. So base times height, 5 times 2, divided by 2, gives you the area. The height is always the distance from the base to the corner. Okay, now the other thing to be careful of is sometimes our triangles don't sit on the base. Sometimes we might have a triangle that looks like this. And it's drawn this way. And maybe I label this 6 and I label this 3 and I label this 5. Which side is the base of that triangle? Ellie, the 6. This would be the base. So it doesn't have to be sitting on the base necessarily. The base doesn't have to be the bottom, I should say. Okay, base and bottom are not the same. The base is whatever the height touches. So if this is the height of my triangle, which is 3, the base is the side that the height is touching. That makes sense to everybody? So sometimes we might have to turn our paper a little bit or do those types of things, okay? And then trapezoids. Okay, I think we might need to flip the page here. A trapezoid is half the sum of the bases times the height. Okay, here's the formula I like to use for trapezoids. Trapezoid. It's base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. Okay, now let me explain why that works. If I have a trapezoid, like this, a trapezoid always has 2 bases. We're going to call them base 1 and base 2. And then it always has a height, and the height is always between the 2 bases. Okay? Now if I take a second trapezoid and I put it next to it, like this, what shape do I have now?
Parallelogram.
A parallelogram. And how do I find the area of a parallelogram? Base times height. Okay, so if I want to find the area of this whole thing, I would need to do this distance times the height. Well, what's this bottom distance? It's the bottom plus the top, right? Because this is base 1 and this is base 2. So base 1 plus base 2, which is right here, times the height, but then we have to cut it in half because we really only want the trapezoid, not the whole parallelogram. Okay? Sometimes knowing why the formula works helps us understand it a little better. Okay? You guys, I don't ever want to give you a formula and be like, here's the formula. You're like, okay. I could tell you whatever I want and you guys would just do it. Because I'm the math teacher and I should tell you how to do it correctly, right? I could have told you the formula is height plus base plus height plus 5 divided by 2 and you'd be like, okay. That's not true, right? But if we look at how it actually works and why it works, if I take 2 trapezoids and put them together, I end up with a parallelogram, base 1 plus base 2, times the height and then cut it in half. Okay, so let's try that on a few problems. Okay, look at letter A. What shape is that? That should always be the first question you ask yourself. What shape is that figure, Ellie? Parallelogram. So since it's a parallelogram, we have to make sure we're using the right formula, and that is base times height. Okay, I'm gonna write the formula down, because then I know I'm doing the right thing. What's the base and the height of that parallelogram? Mason.
The height is 12 inches and the base is 10.
So the base is 10 times 12, 120, and I would label it inches squared. There's my answer. Okay, letter B, what shape is that? Reckon.
Rectangle.
How do we find area of a rectangle?
Sorry, just choose last time.
Area again equals base times height. So 15 times 5. At that point, we're grabbing our calculator. 15 times 5 is 75. How do I label it? Not just yards. Square yards, or yards squared. You gotta have the little 2 on it. Okay. Letter C. What shape?
Triangle.
Triangle. What's the formula for a triangle? Reckon.
Base times height divided by 2.
Okay. Base times height divided by 2. If you write the formula down first, now you can just replace the letters with numbers. What's the base of this triangle? Ellie? 20. And the height is 4. So you're going to do 20 times 4 divided by 2, which is 40 inches squared. Okay, you do letter D. Again, it's a triangle. Find the area. So what'd you get for the area? Letter D, Brecken.
150.
150. 20 times 15 divided by 2, 150 meters squared. When I say show your work, this is what I want to see. Okay? You just write down what you're ultimately putting in your calculator. Okay, what shape is letter E? Trapezoid. Okay, so trapezoid is base 1 plus base 2 in parentheses times the height divided by 2. What are the 2 bases in that trapezoid? 3 and 7. So we have to do 7 plus 3 times 4 and then divide by 2. You guys be really careful when using your calculator. If you put in your calculator 7 plus 3 times 4 divided by 2, not all of us are going to get the same answer. Do that in your calculator. What do you get? Ellie, what'd you get? 13. What'd you get, Mason?
20.
20. 14. Lola?
Error.
Error. Okay. So this is where we have to be careful. You can't put this all in your calculator at once. You have to do what's in the parentheses first, right? So do 7 plus 3. We can do that in our head. That's 10. Now in your calculator, you can type it in. 10 times 4 is 40, divided by 2 is 20 inches squared. Okay? Your calculators follow order of operations. So if I type this into my calculator, okay, if I type 7 plus 3 times 4 divided by 2, what my calculator is going to do is 3 times 4 divided by 2 and add 7. Okay? So your calculator will automatically follow order of operations. If you want your calculator to do the 7 plus 3 first, you have to do 7 plus 3 equals, get that answer, and then times 4 divided by 2. Okay? Ellie. You can. If your calculator has a parenthesis button, sure, you can use that. But you have to make sure and put them there. Okay, to me, it's easier just to do the adding first, right? Okay, so letter F, again, it's a trapezoid, so we're doing base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. What are the two bases in that trapezoid? Abby? 9 and 5. So you're doing 9 plus 5. The height is 6, and then divide by 2. What do you get as an answer? What did you get, Owen? 42. Yeah. Feet squared. Whoa. It just disappeared. Feet squared. Bracken.
Aren't the time like Canvas where we have to take in?
You won't have to type in the label, you'll just have to put the number in. You should write it on your paper yet, right? But you won't have to type in the label. Okay. All right, we're gonna skip this problem. We'll just cross that one out. Okay, and then we're gonna look at these word problems, because word problems are sometimes tricky and we need to pick them apart. Find the length of each side of a triangle if the perimeter is 73 inches. The length of the second side is twice the length of the first side. The length of the third side is 5 more than the length of the first side. Ooh, okay. Let me draw this out. Here's my triangle. Here's the first side. Let's call it X. Tell me about the length of the second side. Ellie.
It's twice the length of the first side.
Yeah, so how would I write that? The second side is twice the length of the first side. 2x. And the length of the third side is 5 more than the length of the first side. Sydney. Not 5x, because that would be 5 times more. 5 plus x, or x plus 5. To find perimeter, we add all the sides together, right? So it's x plus 2x plus x plus 5 equals 73. Right, we added all the sides. We have x plus 2x plus x plus 5. What's x plus 2x plus x? Can we put those together? What would that be? 4x. 4x plus 5 equals 73. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to solve this. Right? The variable has a best friend. Oh yeah. These are best friends. How do we get rid of the non-best friend? Subtract 5. So we have 4x equals 68. And how do we get x by itself? Ellie? Divide by 4. So x equals 68 divided by 4, 17. So it says find the length of each side. So if one side is 17, that means this side is how much?
17 plus 17.
Which is 34. And the third side is 17 plus 5, 22. So there's all 3 sides.
That's hard.
That was a lot to get there. Not impossible, but there. Okay, find the height of a rectangle with an area of 143 centimeters squared and a base length of 11. And then what's the perimeter? Here's my rectangle. The base is 11. We don't know the height. But I do know the area is 143, so how can I find the height? 143 divided by 11. 143 divided by 11. The height is 13 centimeters. If I know the height, can I now find the perimeter? Yeah, the perimeter would be what? Add all 4 sides together, so 11 plus 11 plus 13 plus 13. 48 centimeters. Okay, so far so good?